So, hi everyone. Thanks for coming to my talk called the New Era of Zeroconfig Tools. And well, beforehand, I want to thank everyone for coming. So it's nice to see people from everywhere around the world. The organizers for the hard work that they are doing for doing these events, some collaborators over there, and all the speakers, of course. So thank you all. And of course, the sponsors that made this event possible. And well, a little bit about myself. So that's my Twitter handle, and I will upload the slides later to Twitter. So you follow me, you will see it there. Well, I didn't make an official announcement, but they told me I could say here that I'm officially a Google developer expert on web technologies since the last week. So, oh, thank you. I'm also a Vue team community partner, and that's why I think I have this T-shirt. Please don't break it. OK, I know this is React2Conf. But I want to say that, well, Vue, React, and other technologies, they are not enemies. They are friends. And in fact, the teams collaborate quite often. So at the end, they are tools that solve the same problem. So it's not a matter of a decision of what you use. It's more about how you use it. Or at least that's how I see it. I'm also co-organizer of Alicante Frontend and the Vue Day, along with Aaron and Alvaro, who are over there. And I usually publish content on different platforms. I do some open source. These are like the most popular libraries I've written. And I work as a web consultant on productive web apps, web performance, and the web platform. On my free time, I also have the hobby of doing some different styles of Latin dancing. So if there is any other dancer in the house, please let me know later. There is a dancing club around the corner, so let's get started. Also, I'm from here, from Alicante. You could have noticed because of the accent. I will try to speak slowly because we speak quite fast in Spain, and I hope you can understand. OK, so this talk is about Zeroconfig. And this is a trend we have seen in Twitter lately very much. But yeah, if I ask you what's this Zeroconfig thing, what would you think? Is it maybe that you don't need to configure anything? Or is it that configuration is given for you? Or is it that something is not configurable? I would say that Zeroconfig is the concept of something that you don't need to configure it in order to use it. But that doesn't mean that that something is not configurable. So something can be Zeroconfig, but it can be configurable and extensible. So how this applies to our tools, to our industry? In order to explain it, I will start by explaining what is not Zeroconfig. And for that, let's talk about how we build web apps before 2017, just 1 year ago. So probably if you are a front-end developer, you are going to start a project, the first thing you probably do is starting to prepare the Webpack configuration. And well, yeah, of course, you install Webpack because you want to use modules, because the browsers still kind of don't understand them. And this is where the party begins. So in order to configure Webpack, first you need to prepare the basic things, like the entry file, the output path, all the stuff. But later, you end up having different configurations per environment. So for development, you want to have whole module reloading, to have a nice experience that when you save a file, you see it updated, blah, blah, blah. You want debugging, you want source maps, and all that kind of stuff. But for production, you don't want that. For production, you want minification, mangling, tree shaking, all kind of optimizations. And you have to configure all of that yourself. And well, I forgot to mention, in this talk, I'm not going to show you any code. I'm not going to show you how a tool works. I'm going to more like show you all the tools we have. And then you have a concept of yeah, what they do, and you can research on your own about them. So, well, starting from this, yeah, you probably also want to use the latest features of the language, right? Because who uses ECMAScript 5 today? Oh, maybe someone. I hope not. So for that, you will install Bubble. you need to install a preset. Bubble preset temp is like the suggested one, and probably you need some plugins. You create a Bible RC config where you tie up together all the configuration. And you know, Webpack has loaders in order to process the different type of assets. So if you use Bubble, you will need Bubble loader to install it and to configure it. Probably you want static typing, so you have two options, TypeScript or Flow. The same thing again. You need to install that technologies, you need to install their respective loaders, you need to configure them, and we go on. You have also other kind of assets. You will use CSS, so you will need a style loader and CSS loader. Probably you want to use some preprocessors, so SAS loader, less loader, post CSS loader, all kind of stuff. For other assets, like fonts, images, audios, or other kind of media, you will use probably URL loader if you use them inside your app. And the famous HTML Webpack plugin, which lets you have an HTML template where you can set up how the bundles and the assets are going to end up in your final bundle and application. And you need to configure them. So if you are following, everything is about installing and configuring. And this is something we do for every app we build. There are other things like environment variables, module aliases, so you don't have to use relative paths the whole time, that the project also has. And this is just like the usual configuration a web application has. But yeah, you can even have more kind of configuration, like proxies or other stuff. And well, this example, what you see there in the right, even though you don't see anything, you don't need to, it's just a third of a Webpack configuration of one of the projects I built. And it was like an average project. It's not a big project or not a small project. So who has been there? Who has built a Webpack configuration from scratch? Oh, cool. I see a lot of people. Now, raise your hand if you want the kid set to sing his rap. Oh, OK, the kid set doesn't have much audience. OK, so for me, this feels like this. So just to take some toothpaste out of the tube, you need to build like a whole machine. And well, it shouldn't be like that, right? Yeah, from that, we have started to see boilerplates and other kind of seeds. But yeah, still, they have all the configuration. It's just, it's there, and you have to learn it, and you have to touch anything. It's crazy and painful. So how can we do this today with the tools we have in 2018? Well, first, Webpack in its version 4 has already improved a little bit because they introduced the mode option, which lets you set it to dev or production. And it applies automatically the best practices that usually you need for those environments. The ones we have talked about, like the home module reloading things for dev and all kind of optimization for production. But still, you need to install all the loaders depending on what you're building, right? So, well, a bit of an improvement, but still not totally Zeroconfig. So now it comes the cool kit, Parcel. Chan-chan. Probably some of you have heard of it already. And well, Parcel is really an awesome tool because it's truly Zeroconfig. You only need to install it and run it. And Parcel just takes it takes an entry file, and from that, it will build an asset tree where it will process all dependencies, and depending on which kind of asset, it automatically processes it for you. So imagine like Webpack does with the loaders, Parcel does something similar automatically under the hood. And the cool thing is that it supports mostly all asset types that we currently use in the front end. So JSX, JavaScript, Reason, TypeScript, Vue. Even a friend of me, 1 hour ago, told me, hey, I tried Parcel, and it's really awesome. I tried it with the Reason ML. I installed the compiler, and Parcel just did all the rest. And well, yeah, that's true. It's quite good. Also, it includes all the most of the Webpack features. And the best practices that Webpack introduced with the modes, the dev and prod modes. So I think this is something that is going to be a big thing. And, well, I think it's already mature enough. It has grown a lot. The community is quite big. And, well, if you haven't tried it, you should. Then the next tool I'm going to show you is Poi, which probably is not that known. But, well, Poi was built by a core team of Vue for themselves, but it works in a similar way than Parcel. I mean, OK, it doesn't work in a similar way than Parcel. You use it in a similar way than Parcel. So you install it, you run it, magic happens, and it runs for React, for Vue, and whatever. The difference between Parcel and Poi is that Poi is built on top of Webpack, while Parcel is built from scratch. I don't say that's better or worse, but it's just different. Well, Webpack is a mature tool. That doesn't mean that Poi is mature. But Parcel, on the other hand, has a bigger community. But I think both tools are interesting, so just give it a try and see how it feels. And well, I showed you these two for building applications. And now the question is, what about the libraries? Because it's not exactly the same to build an application than a library. Normally, for a library, you don't need that much stuff. You need something more simple and more optimized, right? So for libraries, Rollup is not the Zeroconfig tool, OK? But Rollup is like I would say, is the equivalent to Webpack for building libraries. That doesn't mean you cannot use Webpack for building libraries, but they were created with different purposes. So Webpack was created with the purpose to cover all cases for building a web application, while Rollup was created with only one purpose, which was to bundle ECMAScript modules. So by default, it doesn't even understand common JS modules. You have to install plugins, and it becomes more functional, of course. But what it does it very efficiently. And it's much more simple than Webpack. That's why I usually suggest it for libraries. But well, still, you need to configure it, even if it's a little bit. So when I was building some libraries for myself, I made up together this TypeScript library starter, which I wouldn't say is Zeroconfig, but I say it's almost Zeroconfig. Why? Well, because Zeroconfig, the Zeroconfig tools I'm going to show you in this talk, they don't only prevent you to have to configure something at the beginning, but they also hide the configuration. So the configuration is hidden somewhere. You don't see it, but it's there somewhere. Yeah, TypeScript library starter, it's there, the configuration. But the people started liking it because you just need to download it, to run it, and it's everything set up already for building a library. So it creates different bundles with different formats. It puts them in package.json, so it's ready to publish on NPM. And even with a bit of more work, it allows you to do continuous integration and delivery using a CI server automatically. But well, the one I like really a lot is Microbundle, which was built by Jason Miller, also known as Developit on Twitter. So I'm pretty sure you have heard about him. He's now a Google engineer, and he does all kind of cool libraries for web performance and other stuff. It's also the creator of Preact. And well, this is exactly the same case than Parcel or Poi. You just need to install and run. I think we have to make a T-shirt or something of install and run, right? Or some stickers, maybe. OK, so Microbundle, it uses Rollup under the hood as well. And you just need to install it. It will create the different bundles you usually need for libraries, so the UMD, the ECMAScript version, and the common JS version. And it supports mostly everything, including TypeScript. It doesn't support Vue, because I opened myself the issue, and it's still open. But if I find some time, I will try to make a pull request and fix that. But well, this other library, Rollit, it's like Microbundle for Vue, and this is not known at all, and I don't know why. Because I use it for my Vue libraries, for my open source libraries, and it's exactly the same case. It's install and run. I think after the talk we are going to be all like install and run, install and run. Yeah, all the servers are install and run. And well, it was done by a Vue core team as well, and I think it has like 10 stars on GitHub. But I don't know. For me, it worked pretty well. So if someone is trying Vue and building libraries, I suggest to give it a look. OK, we've seen applications. We have seen libraries. Let's talk a bit about testing. And I hope it's not that boring, because we are talking about the same thing the whole time, right? But well, testing, yeah, it's kind of the same. I'm not sure if has someone here ever had to configure all the stack of Karma, Mocha, Chai, blah, 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 Webpack? Raise your hands. I see someone. Oh, OK. Yeah, quite a lot. So well, it's kind of the same thing, right? Normally, you have to configure Karma, Mocha, Chai, Xenon, Karma, Mocha, Karma, Chai, blah, blah, blah. Then also have like another Webpack configuration to understand for the test suite, to understand your code and the stuff. And well, I didn't have to configure Selenium myself, but some coworkers did. And well, they usually say that it's like heavy. It's also heavy to configure. I'm not sure. I cannot talk for myself. But the thing is, what tools do we have today in order to avoid configuring all these things as well? First, oh, yeah, and this is like how. Just like Webpack configuration. So first we have Cypress, and in this image, even if you maybe cannot read it in the end, in here you see like all the tools you have to tie it together to make a test suite, right? And well, with Cypress is, guess what? Install and run. Yeah, that's true. It's an end-to-end testing framework. It has no Selenium dependency. That's why it's quite fast and lightweight. I'm not sure if there are other talks about Cypress, but in the last year, there were some that were quite cool about Cypress. And yeah, well, I'm not going to explain the tool, but I think you should check it out if you want to do some end-to-end tests. And for unit tests, of course, I would suggest to use Jest, because I've been using it for a while already, and I have to say I'm really happy from the first moment with it. You don't need to do much. Install and run as well. And just by some conventions, you can already write a unit test with the suffix.test.js or put them in a test folder, and it will be picked. They will be picked automatically by Jest. And also the thing I like about Jest is that it's fully featured. So it has the best mocking tools I've seen. It has snapshot testing, which comes very handy for testing components. And it has a very clean SPECT API and great support for asynchronous test. So, no doubt. Well, I found this topic quite funny, and I call it the code formatting and the many linter discussions. Because it's quite traditional that normally in big companies with teams, they maybe start using ESLint or TSLint. And you see a lot of meetings just for deciding if we should use single or double quotes, 2 or 4 tab spaces, semicolons or no semicolons. And people usually spend a lot of time doing this thing. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people here can be reflected with this. So let me tell you that that's called byte shedding. And probably this concept is familiar for some of you, maybe not for others. But the thing is, byte shedding, it was coined as a metaphor by Parkinson, well, imitating the Parkinson law of triviality. And this guy, in 1957, discovered that organizations spend a lot of time on trivial issues. And in particular, this was a nuclear plant that cost 28 million, and the discussion had just less than 3 minutes. while building the bike shed that cost 1,000, it took 45 minutes. And well, I think in our industry, I've seen it a lot, that people spend lots of meeting talking about some code formatting, which is not going to provide any value to your final code, so your final product. It's just some styling. And yeah, other decisions. I think just developers are stubborn. We are stubborn. And well, for this, Facebook came to the rescue again and made Prettier, which is an opinionated code formatting. And the cool thing of Prettier is that what it does it very well. And when you have consistent formatting, you have some advantages. For instance, imagine if we all use Prettier. All the code bases are going to look the same. Despite your likings or your preference, they're going to look the same. If you want to search something, you know the pattern already of the spaces, of how it's formatted. And usually, I suggested to set it in a pre-commit hook, because in that way you make sure that all the code that goes to the repository has been formatted the same way, independently on what tools the developer use, or editors, or whatever. And honestly, in the last companies I introduced this tooling, and I found the people quite reluctant to use it, because it's like, oh, it's changing my code. What the fuck? No, my code was right. Why is putting this below? And I don't know. So, well, that's something that after some days, people usually like it, and then you don't go back. And if not, you should use it, of course. It's combinable with ESLint or TSLint, because ESLint or TSLint, they also care about the formatting. They also care about other things. But with these other tools, the official ESLint configurator, or the equivalent for TSLint that I built, they disable the rules that are about formatting on ESLint or TSLint. So imagine this is like you say, OK, Prettier, you're good at formatting, so you take care of that, and all the rest, give it to ESLint or TSLint. So like using const and let instead of var and all that stuff. And yeah, they integrate it very well. And I found very funny this tweet from Alex Rossmeyer, which says, nobody loves what Prettier does to their syntax, but everyone loves what Prettier does to coworkers' syntax. I bet you have seen that. OK, let's talk a little bit about official CLIs. We covered a lot of areas, but at the end, we're going to do React, or Vue, or Angular, or whatever. And well, we have some tools. In the case of React, we have the Create React or Native app, which they do already all of what we have seen so far. So they set up the bubble configuration, jest, testing, ESLint, Webpack, whatever. It's hidden, you don't see it, and it's all ready to build your React app, following the best practices. It's configurable until a point. There are some configurations you can do that are quite small, and you have a user guide, which is quite great. The only thing I don't personally like is that sooner or later you need to eject. And as far as I know, if they don't have published any new version that I missed, it's like that. And what happens is that all the configuration is extracted, and from that point, you're on your own. And you lose that magic of having hidden configuration that gets updated automatically, blah, blah, blah. But well, I hope they fix that at some point. And I just wanted to show you, if you are into Vue, the Vue CLI, because this is really a work of art, truly. It's like Create React app, but you don't need to eject. So if you want to touch or tweak something from the inside, you can do it. It's flexible enough. It also has a beautiful UI, like the one that you see. You can use it from the CLI or the UI. And the rest of the configuration is done via plugins. So instead of having to touch anything, you just need to install a plugin for Jest, ESLint, Bubble, whatever. And automatically, everything is stick together. OK? So I hope you are still alive over there. I know these are many tools, but, well, probably, yeah. OK, let's talk about the future a little bit. Because we talked about how it was before. The tools we have now, which are pretty cool. So yeah, what's there for the future? Is it improvable still? Well, the last week I saw a tweet where I saw a library that it got my attention, and it's called Guess.js. And this is a machine learning-driven building and loading toolkit. So I investigated a little bit about it. And well, what I found out is that the way it works, it uses Google Analytics data in order to build a machine learning model. I don't know much about machine learning, but probably there is someone that knows more about that. And it uses it to predict user interactions. So imagine that, for example, when you navigate to the home route, your data is telling you that it's probable that the user is going to navigate to that other route. So Guess uses that data to bundle together in the optimized way your code, and also to prefetch it when it's the right time as well. It also has Webpack integration, so if you use Webpack, this is also cool to integrate it with. And I'm going to explain to you in a more visual way. This is like a traditional app, right? You have like the route, the root route. You have several routes. Let's call it A, B, C. You also have maybe nested routes, whatever. And a very good technique of web performance is to apply code splitting for every route, so that you have like a chunk of JavaScript for every route that, using lazy loading, you only load them when it's the right time, when the user enters that route, right? Guess.js goes a step forward, and it does what is known as chunk clustering. So basically, it combines chunks that are likely to be seen by the user. And it also does predictive fetching. And I think that Gatsby, that static site generator of React, does something like that as well. So depending on the data and what route you are, it's going to fetch what can be the next route. This is a demo done by Gatsby, and it doesn't matter you don't see it, but there are some links highlighted, and basically they are highlighted according to the probability they have that the user is going to go to, well, it's going to click to that link, right? So the red ones have high probability, the blue low, and the others have medium probability. And in this other screenshot, we also can see that the user is in home, and according to the data, it's likely that it's going to navigate to about. So when we go to home, that thing below it means that the about chunk it was loaded in that time when the user was in home, because it's very likely it goes there. So well, that optimizes already the way we can apply web performance and bundling, even if you use those techniques. And I think it's a pretty interesting tool, which is still in alpha. It's in alpha version, and great people is working on it. I think mainly Minko Getchev, but also Adiosman itself and other Google engineers. And well, if you're curious and you want to dive deeper on this tool, I left here these two articles where Minko explains all the details and how it works and in the underline better than I could say it here. So another question for the future: will Webpack die? What do you think? No? Yes? No? Oh, yes? I heard yes? OK. I think you guys are right. I think it's not going to die. I think it's going to become a lower-level tool. So mostly, all the things we have seen, they are maybe tools built from scratch or tools that are built on top of other tools. So yeah, we know it's really frustrating to configure Webpack, but that's not bad. Maybe it can be used as a, I think in the future, Webpack is going to be like a lower-level platform for building web apps, and maybe even other kind of apps, like hybrid apps or like React Native apps. And there will be appearing there will showing up other tools like Parcel or other stuff or JS that they use it for providing us with better developer experience. So at the end, Webpack does what it has to do, and it does it very well. And we use other tools that orchestrate Webpack for us. But well, we'll see how the future will be. OK, hello. Oh, I think it died. Or something else died. OK. So, well, this is the end of the talk. And what I wanted to show you is not something very technical, not something very in deep, but just a set of tools that maybe you already knew some of them, maybe you others not. But at least, if you're curious, you will check them out. Maybe they will become helpful for your next projects. And I also wanted to say, let's keep away that bug shedding. Let's be more pragmatic, and let's don't be that stubborn. So let's focus on what we need to build, the core value of the product we are building and the projects. And yeah, let's take better care of our time. So write less, do more. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, Alex, then.
OK, thank you.